Thank you so much for the talk. For introduction, today we'll hear 3 presentations, all coming from Lithuania. But I want you to do your project in your mind, the situations, the examples, the questions, the possibilities to your country. Also later we will have discussion, panel discussion, 1 hour, it's I suppose enough. And even more, dinner is at 7, so we still have time enough. And if you want to discuss longer, we are able to do that. But please contribute. And again, we don't have any letters there. We have prizes for special good question or good suggestion. So you can win something even actively participating. Always making a live when we have something light in a corridor. So, what to tell else? We made an inquiry via our members on sustainability, and we already get a warm-up exercise a little bit. What do we have in our countries? Suppose this warm-up exercise will help us to have a better panel discussion and suppose better continuation later. So that's okay. I would invite the first presenter, who it is yes. So I invite Andreas Branda to open the meeting, and we as engineers always looking to the all activities of construction and the sustainability taking place somewhere in between or somewhere aside.
Honorable Vice Minister of Environment, Lithuania, Daiva Medikaitė, sorry if I pronounced it wrong. As acting President, I would like to thank you for your participation and your show up in our Forum of Civil Engineers and Sustainability in Construction. As highly qualified market participants, civil engineers are predestined to offer solutions for sustainable construction, not only for sustainable construction, but for sustainability. We discussed in our meeting beforehand the need for the system and not only for parts of the system. The contributions by Thomas Lasiunas on BIM as a tool for solving sustainability issues, by Paulius Bulota on reusing of precast concrete structures for engineered, or the engineered timber inspirations to green contact-based reshape of our cities by Paulius will provide interesting and various material for our subsequent discussion on sustainability. From my point of view, it's important that decision makers from politics take a clear position in the sustainability debate, but also ensure the boundary conditions for our work and our contribution. So I thank you once more for joining us in the forum. I look forward to hear your thoughts on this and the contributions in discussion.
Thank you, dear President.
Start out.
Now Vice Minister Laura Belskeda to say some welcome words, and then maybe words what ministry is thinking of doing. Which microphone is close?
Meeting.
It shows it is a microphone.
So we go on for me to present our ministers. Manas Genscher was in this meeting. He couldn't come, but he conveys the warmest regards to all the community and all participants. The Ministry of Environment is the current time where we will make a lot of initiatives. We have a lot of processes, different processes related to sustainable construction. This time we will present them in some minutes. I'm here together with my team from the Ministry of Environment. It's here with you all. Danish Arianas, the head of construction part of our department, or also aspect of Department of Architecture and Innovation, so I invite members to present more. But what I want to say that what we find during all the processes, what is the essential assumption for the success, and this assumption is the professionalism. And we need intelligent, professional solutions in all stages, starting from the legal regulation, going through financial measures, and ending with the certain decisions in specific objects. So partnership with the community of engineers is very important for us to feel confident and to believe that we can overcome all barriers and reach all our goals and tasks. And events like this, where you collect so many professionals in one place, are very important, not only for key questions what are arising here, but also for the possibility to get answers, because you are professionals, and many answers are in your community, and we are very happy to have this partnership during the activities in the ministry. What else I can say? I just can invite Danish to present more our activities, to say more what we are doing now in our ministry, but of course believing in the force of partnership and in the force of professionalism. I just congratulate your meeting and wish you good discussions. Thank you.
I'm confused that I did not address you personally in my welcome speech. I didn't know that you would show up. So sorry once more.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Danish. I'm head of construction and housing policy within the Ministry of Environment, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity today to present you some initiatives that we have on our side in the Ministry of Environment. that we are pretty proud of, and we are sure that they are relevant to the topic of sustainability. I will run through them quite quickly, but I hope that we will have a possibility to discuss them. If there will be any questions regarding them, I will be happy to answer them after my presentation or anywhere else before the table of coffee or somewhere else. So I will start with the most recent initiative that we had on our table, bringing the proposal to our government, to say the truth, based on the program of government, had a decision on the use of renewable organic materials in construction. And we have a decision or resolution of a government this year in July, saying that by the end of 2024, maybe the 1st of November, certain types of public buildings will have to be designed and built using 50% of timber or other organic renewable materials. They basically we treat that as a driver to change, because we all know by good the power of the purchasing power of the public sector. In Lithuania, it comprises nearly 40% of the whole investments in the construction sector. So if the government and decides and the public money is being spent in this way, exactly, that means that supply chain has to step up here and provide services accordingly. Along that, we have some initiatives which are financed or funded by so-called Recovery and Resilience Fund, and these are already 3 years old, so to say. They were pre-designed in the discussion and the negotiations with the European Commission. But I'm just happy to reiterate and announce once again that we have certain measures, so-called measures here, for development of the capacities of production of industrial prefab elements. And we have a support measure for our industry to be able and to build up their capacities in order to produce required typical structures or any other organic materials which has been made on a renewable basis. We have 8 pilot projects based on this technology, using prefab technologies for renovation, and renovation is the key probably here, because the biggest amount of the money from RRF in this particular measure is for the renovation using prefab and using these prefab elements which are built from organic materials, at least the supporting structure, the structural elements. So we had a calls for industry to build up their capacities. This was middle of September. Call for pilots already ended. We already got the projects that we needed, the required number. There probably will be additional calls, because at least for the moment, see that there's some money still left in the funds, and we will be able to use that. And as I mentioned, there's a call for renovation using prefab elements, using this technology, which is of importance here, and we are very hopeful on that. Other very important aspects, nevertheless, is probably in terms of money, it's not that big, but the data of our building stock is really important. Building on the experience that we had while preparing our long-term renovation strategy in 2020, we encountered the problem of accessibility of the data about our building stock, the qualities, because the data and the information that we have about our buildings in the national registers is very limited. It only comprises a part of our buildings. So basically, we need to have another tool, different tool, which would allow us to collect the information about all the building stock and the information from the use or exploitation phase, and to bring it back to the supply chain, to the designers, and in order for us as a ministry also to allow to plan the necessary resources for the support of the renovation for that building stock. Why is that important? That is important because by 2050 we will have to have climate neutral building stock. So basically, we have to have our trajectory of moving forward that goal, and achieving that without specific data is really hard. Probably one of the decisions which have been made on the level of our minister by the order of the minister really 2 years ago, but it's getting more and more relevant because January the 1st, 2025 is approaching. In green public procurement criteria requirements, we have a requirement for public procurers to design and construct buildings or any other construction works so that they would comply with one of sustainability assessment systems. We do not have any preference for the systems that are on the market. We need any, you name it. The client has a possibility to select that, but nevertheless, you have to select that, and you have to select the level of which you are going to achieve your building. So basically, once again, public sector with the use of public money is trying to change it. Another important initiative is adoption of life cycle assessment methodology on the national level. We'll all really probably know really good that there are many LCA methodologies out there in the market as well. But nevertheless, some countries have already made a decision to make it a national requirement, used some adjustments to them, and they adopted that in order to fit into international frameworks, national legislation system, and in order to work that properly. We have the same initiative, and we have this, we have the same ambition, and the start of that work with the help of construction and sector development agency, we see in the beginning of the next year. The system itself is not only the methodology. We clearly understand that it's also a data, it's also IT tools, it's also competencies of our sector. That's why we see as a long-term project which will probably last few years in order for the sector to be prepared to apply it. Other complementary changes which are relevant here, as well as probably they are just simply important, as they are one of the major things that we're doing right now in the Ministry of Building Code. The particular aspect that I would like to highlight here is that building code brings another perspective and another principle to our design practices. We move from the practices of prescriptive requirements to the practices of performance-based requirements. It means that we'll, on the legal acts, we will say the essential requirements that have to be obeyed, but the methods and the ways how to achieve them will be left to the engineers and professionals working in this field as well. That's a great change, and I think that it will change a lot of practices in our communities of designers. A BIM mandate, it's already there, already for 2 years, and we have a 3-stage approach. We have decided to have that based on the cost of the project, and we started at the end of 2021. Now, 2024, January the 1st is approaching, where we have the threshold to apply mandatory BIM methods for public clients, for infrastructure objects with a project value of 5 million euros and the buildings 3 million euros. Next stage is 2026, January the 1st, where we have correspondingly amounts of money 3 million and 1.5 million euros. Basically, that allows us to have BIM already business as usual practice, at least where we have clients coming from the public sector. To support the change in the area of digitalization, particularly BIM, we have prepared the BIM team project set of documents which are needed to have a coherent and harmonized tool for that. We clearly understand that the use of BIM is not only methodology, it's not only software, but also a clear and transparent rules of the game for every member of the sector. That's why in this project we have prepared those rules. The project has ended 1 month ago, And and right now we're working on the preparation of the legal acts which will build on the results of those of this project, and we will be able to issue orders of the minister or recommendations how to behave in the field of BIM, and in order to run it properly and smoothly. There are also European initiatives which you all probably all are aware of quite good. There's a revision of so-called CPR, Construction Products Regulation, which brings the pieces which were needed a long time ago. Particularly if we're talking about the reuse of construction products, construction materials, and bringing them back to the market. So far, and to this moment, we didn't have any harmonized mechanisms for that. And those products which would be reused, they were outside of the legal market. So the revision of the CPR brings that possibility with the special declaration for these products, and we will have a legal way to use them. There's a revision of so-called Energy Performance Directive, and it's really important here. It deals with this within the criteria which are more or less related to the sustainability or the assessment of sustainability of the buildings. It's the so-called global warming potential of buildings. One of the criteria there is inscribed already in the directive, and it has to be evaluated. So basically, it means you have to have data for that. You have to follow certain methodologies. You have to follow certain standards, and that brings the new practices to the designers and the whole community. Our national initiatives, which I would like to mention here, is the revision of the energy performance requirements or energy performance classes. As you probably well know, every country has energy performance classes. Their classification, I would say we were pretty successful with this classification, with this technical background. And every 5 years we have to review them based on the cost optimal levels. Where do we do that? That's the business as usual exercise. But besides that, having gained some experience, to know that there in the market there are methodologies for energy performance of buildings. In other countries, for commercial-based methodology, we would like to explore which elements of those methodologies we could include in our system in order to make it more coherent, more international based, and use probably possible software solutions which are there on the market. So basically, to make the system more accessible, easy to run, up to date, and more resilient to the changes. I would probably stop here. We're really happy to make a lot more initiatives that we have for the moment, but so that those were the most relevant. Probably really interested to hear from you, and yeah, if there will be any questions, we'll be happy to answer.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Very ambitious program that you have in the next years, and we hope to be able to discuss some of these aspects later on. Thank you. May I now invite Thomas to join us. Thomas is the head of the innovation department at UAB in-house engineering. Thomas, I wonder whether you'd like to introduce yourself and your relationship with sustainability before proceeding to your presentation of BIM and its application in sustainability today.
Slides.
Maybe we can have one if you want.
So, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm one of the juniors, head of innovation department. Today, my topic is seen as a tool for solving sustainability issues. About me, very briefly, in 2007, I was graduated as a civil engineer at Vilnius Gediminas Technical University. Then I started my career as civil engineer. And after 5 years, I started work at Tingus as a B manager. Then I was leading the department, and now I'm head of innovation department. And during my career, I was working as structural engineer, working on lean implementation in the supply chain, on B management, on development of software tools, on implementation of lean methodology, and also data analytics. About our company, at Tingus, we specialize in design build projects. Our scope is from designing to producing and to assembling the mainframe buildings. Our supply chain takes all responsibilities, and client gets the final product without headache. We provide alignment as well, and we seamlessly integrate lean and lean with the entire supply chain. Starting from the conceptual design and extending to construction. As a responsible company, we prioritize minimizing our environmental impact, and we feel that our customers and clients place great importance on sustainability as well. So it motivates us to search more and more sustainable solutions. Here we have the whole cycle of buildings and stages. I'm sure that you have seen this slide many times before. So in general, we have five stages: product stage, construction stage, use stage, end of life stage, and the use stage. And 70% of CO2 emissions comes from the product stage. It shows us very well where we should be focused. When we are talking about any problem, I think we should start from measuring it and how we are measuring sustainability of buildings or of construction products. So for that, FPDs are used. And what is FPD? It's a verified and standardized document which provides information about environmental performance of the product. Actually, it gives us indicators what impact to the environment one unit of product creates. In our case, it's metric ton, but it can be other units. Yeah, so FPDs can be verified. This is official documents, but this process it took time to prepare declarations. We have prepared those since 2016 for all our products, and verified declaration is valid for 5 years. But we are using also not verified declarations. They are maybe less accurate. This process is much faster. We can have them almost online, and in this case, BIM helps us a lot. And we are using them to understand trend in production, how we are doing by achieving sustainability goals. And here we see distribution of CO2 indicator by material groups in one of our products. It's 3-layer concrete wall, and you see that 55% of CO2 emissions comes from concrete, 6% from steel, and that's 10 from reinforcement, 9 in insulation, and 10% comes from production itself. It's any additional materials needed to produce elements, fuel, gas, and energy resources. Here we have another our product is massive wall, and here you can see that concrete makes even more CO2. So yeah, we know where we should pay attention, and in this case, concrete is a bad guy. In concrete, the main part of CO2 is created in Portland cement production. And what can be done about it? So researchers are investigating and working on finding alternative binders or alternative materials which may have lower CO2 emissions. Also, the carbon capture technology used already one plant in North America under construction, and it should be launched in 2026. They're going to capture CO2 emissions from cement plant and to use it by making useful materials or to store them underground. When we're talking about the concrete production, we also can done some fun steps in this stage. We can use recycled materials, can use more sustainable cement. You can invent recipes with less cement. Also, there can be used carbon tube technology. But I think when we're talking about civil engineering, and where BIM can help us. So the last stage is use of concrete and construction. And yes, we can avoid wastings. We can think about rational design of the concrete. So in the next slides, we'll be focusing more on the use of concrete in construction, but our company works to reduce emissions in concrete production as well. And here we see now the developed tool. With this tool, we are able to calculate global warming potential factor in every our project and provide report to our clients. And yeah, in Scandinavian market, it's very important for our clients to get this information. We see that in other markets it becomes more and more relevant too. In this report, we see live data only a few hours delay from the point when changes in the model were made. You may wonder why we are inventing something ourselves. There are tons of ready-to-go tools available on the market, but with this tool, our goal was to create a system which you can use with one click without any import-export workflows. And end user of this tool actually don't need any special trainings. We just need to know project name and distance from our factory to the construction site. Another part of our tool is the real-time data-driven reports for comparing various special solutions in the project. The main idea is that we are modeling several different structural options of the same building in the same big model, and then we compare those options of our tool. And here we see, in this case, we proposed to our client two options. One option is timber homes, and there is complete homes. You can see difference in terms of CO2, 15% less with timber homes, so we can provide proposal to our client, and we can make decisions based both on cost and on environmental impact. Here, another project. In this case, we are evaluating 5 options, including massive slabs versus hollow slabs, steel beams versus concrete walls, and more. And you can see that 4 options are quite similar in terms of CO2, but one option has much higher CO2 value. With this tool, carrying in those tools, we are able, without changing the building itself, without changing materials, we are still able to propose better solution for our client. We are storing all data related with sustainability in our models. In case we are using not our standard products, we just put information from the FPD operation directly into the model, and then all information comes to our database. We'll go later about it. And we see that most important thing is to get reliable data in our new models. When we are talking about reliable data, this is how we ensure reliability. For that, we have many tools. One of them is a beam classification system. It's our own system, internal classificator, but it can be mapped with any international one. Uniclass, Omniclass, or our Lithuanian one. We have modeling instruction for our engineers. We have automated modeling tools. And we have automated the model checking system on top. So those all tools together let us rely on data. Here we have an example from production, what happens when data is not reliable. In this case, machinery requirements don't that's the design requirements, and you see that something went wrong. So of course this is wasting of materials, of carbon emissions too. And to prevent such loss in production, we have developed a model checking system, and this is only a small part of it. It's only 1 point from maybe 16, 60 or 70. So here we're checking before production if information is reliable and machinery can produce those elements without loss. And before this system, before this implementation, we had about 5% of problematic reports, but now we don't have issues with it at all. About accessibility of data, we have usually more than 10 ongoing projects and hundreds of finished projects. So, yeah, we have reliable data in those projects, but that data is not accessible to anyone in our team by default, because you should use well, IFC files, you should find right model and so on, so on, to make it accessible and online to our team. We developed, like we call it, BIM database, and this process is fully automatic. It's continuous. A system automatically extracts information from our BIM model and writes it to database. And then all our tools, all our team members can access it come from the one data source. So our example shows the most important part for any decision-making process to be effective. Data must be reliable, well structured, and accessible to our team. Only then we are able to make informed recommendations to our clients on how we can reduce carbon dioxide emissions. And I believe that in every project we are able to make better than previous one and reduce impact to environment, moving us closer to a greener, more sustainable future. And I believe that in future we will still get complete structures. There's need to be making them sustainable, and reinforcement with engineers will be still needed. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Thomas. We'll have some questions and discussions later. Now I invite Boris Bulata. It's engineer, no time.
assembled and then assembled again. And as seeing is believing, we even have a short video, so it's 2 minutes. We can look at it, and really, it's an interesting project. And we know that there are similar projects that were happening in Netherlands, in Denmark, and in Sweden. So there was also cooperation with some of those scientists. You see the assembly of the precast column there with the bolts, and the joints will be grouted. These are composite beams, which is a steel beam, which is filled with the concrete. And then hollow core slabs are assembled, and all these joints will be basically concreted. So it will be really stiff, normal structure, which is ready to use. And then dismantling process. This is quite complicated to dismount the hollow core slabs for sure, but they were trying these kind of things. They were saw cutting the joints, and then there were some special lifting hooks left. You see, they disassemble everything. And we, together with the precaster, we wanted to prove that actually it's possible to have a structure of the building fully erected, fully disassembled, and fully assembled again, or reassembled. And everything was done very quickly. It took 2 or 3 months. This is of course a joke about quickly, but the speed was not the idea of this project. The idea was the concept. Because our main business is those small steel items in the bottom of the column. And actually, if everybody will start doing this and repeating, then we will lose our business, and concrete producers will lose their business. But there will be new possibilities. And now they are assembling again. So, yes, it's Finland, so snow. The test was designed especially to be tested in the harsh winter conditions. And yeah, so this was done, and then based on this kind of experience, we have done also the white paper. This white paper brought couple copies. If it's interesting, you can grab it from the table there. It's actually written the whole kind of a concept, the design assumptions, and what is the result of this calculation. And basically, then we were comparing the 2 frames, and we wanted to calculate the cost and the CO2 emission in 2 situations. So basically, if we have this reusable concrete structure, then we are having CO2 only in the beginning, and later we don't have it. When we have a conventional, we have to produce basically new structures 2 times. And with the cost, we evaluated that actually it's very cheap to reassemble, and the kind of conclusion is that definitely it is much better to use the dismountable and reassembled structures. But of course, we understand that this is only a model, and this is only a kind of a very premature calculations and the ideas. Nevertheless, the connections, which are very important for the structures, it is possible to have them, to design them in such a way. And this is one of the main conclusions of this kind of a process, that the joint grout, which is also a very important structural part, is that it's not an enemy, possible to deal with that problem. And on the other hand, solving the systematic or economical challenges of reusing was not the idea of this project. We understand that basically even a lot of changes in the building codes has to be implemented in order we will be able to use second time the existing structure. There are calculations, there are materials, certificates, etc., traceability, and many other things are related to that. But my idea was to hear that we are working on this, And we are spending a lot of energy on these kind of things. And for example, even next week, of course, probably for you it's too late maybe to participate, but next week there will be a conference in the Latvia, which is the home city of Peko company. And the conference name is Construction Go Circular. So basically, this is a conference related to the circularity and to circular economy in the construction industry. So if not this year, maybe next year you will have a chance to attend it and to have a look what we are working. And basically that's it. If you have also a possibility, you can scan a QR code, which will appear here, and in that QR code you will also see the white paper with the technical data about the dismantling and reassembling of the concrete structure. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that description of what you've been up to. It's very inspiring, and I hope we'll be able to discuss this a little bit further. May I now? May I now introduce Polos Milicis? Polos is the business development manager of the GE Corp. And
Yeah. And it's already 5 years. Well, 2009 when we moved in. So I'm happy to live there, and it was my first meeting with this technology. I was really afraid about traditional building methods because of long lasting process, because of delays and so on and so on. And with this particular experience from the micro level, I now would like to guide you to the macro perspective. It's an obvious thing. We build from the ground, but we design from above. I really like the presentations from colleagues, I would say, not competitors, but colleagues representing concrete and steel building materials. They really have done a huge effort into standardizing building solutions. I believe that there are a lot of things to learn, including to try to find hybrid solutions. But now I would like to bring it more from the macro perspectives, micro level or case study perspectives that were presented on the colleagues to the macro perspective. And if to overview the situation with the construction, we see timber skyscrapers rising all over the world, in the United States, Norway, Austria, Sweden, Netherlands. Some of participants of this conference live in Sweden, like Paul, for instance, his company actually designed this house, skyscraper. As you see, some of them, they are not purely timber, they are hybrid. We see wood cities rising, like Quebec, Sweden, or Helsinki, or part of Helsinki in Finland. We see upcoming big developments in Berlin, former international airport, Tegel, which has to be converted into a sort of timber city. And Stockholm, latest announcement, many more years to come. But concrete and steel buildings are still booming. And what does it mean from the global perspective? We have not to take it out of our sight. Now we face this breakthrough point when we as humans, we created much more is to calculate our creation by weight. And I believe that kilograms is one of the best measurement units because it's directly proportional to the energy embodied into this. It's like obvious physics things. And half of this creation is concrete. About 40% of greenhouse emissions are generated by buildings, and 23% are caused by building materials. Those building materials plays the biggest role there. And it's even more important when we start to take more and more care about energy efficiency of how do we use the buildings, right? This is perfectly represented in this graphics. So the question is, how should we transform our construction? And some answers were given actually by the survey presented by the and to sum up, the best way would be not to build anything or just to try to utilize the existing building stock better. Build less, build clever, build more efficient. The question, how could timber help to this climate-friendly transformation? Here it comes. We have various answers. Would it be to build nothing? Let's renovate the existing building stock, including with this approach of serial renovation with the standardized industrial fabricated facade panels. Build less. Let's use existing urban infrastructure and building stock. Let's make expertise about how durable are those precast concrete buildings and use them to build on top extensions. Let's create hybrid solutions. Hybrid solutions not only marrying steel and concrete, but also combining all three materials together. And if to build new buildings, let's build more efficient, let's industrialize this, and let's use more prefabricated timber-based, automated and robotized off-site construction. Timber turns buildings into carbon storages. What is proven by scientists from Finland and Germany, it's really the most mature method. Not any kind of injection of capturing CO2 from atmosphere, making it to a fuel and to insert it in some sort of former places where we have extracted gas or oil. And what we have performed for centuries, this mineral-based construction, could be really replaced by, not only replaced by bio-based renewable construction materials, at least a significant part of our construction. But this historical chance to put carbon back into safe form. Could engineered timber help more, like well-known glulam, like cross-laminated timber, like laminated veneer lumber? Actually, you can see the name of DMG on this one, and I'm proud to say that just a few weeks ago, on September 13th, officially launched the newest laminated veneer lumber factory in Port. Or a humble product out of chips or strands, OSB or particle. So could the engineer timber help more? Yes, it could. Timber has the better strength, strength to man ratio, and and more engineered, meaning better ratio. This could be one or another perspective. This particular physical quality helps to better performance in the prefabrication industry. It's a perfect way that perfect, say, pre-assumptions that were created by precast concrete industry towards standardization, towards implementation of prefabricated solutions. But with the timber-based solution, which is lighter material, we can give we can give turnkey solutions to the almost full finishing, all installed inside, not only inside finishing, but all MEP and HVAC equipment, like is perfectly exemplified by Bulldog company, which supplies magnetic modules to low-rise multi-story apartment buildings. And engineered timber enabled to build higher, which is perfectly represented by the evolution of those highest buildings. If we see from the 2009 to 2019, the rise was about 300%, and we see every time some sort of sort of combination of few engineered timber materials. With a perfect example of the last one, Mushtornet or Tower of Mjøsa Lake in Norway, which combines CLP, glulam, and LVL. New horizons for offsite are opened. Would it be systems like Krieg by Lombard using precast concrete and timber hybrid slabs, or component production like one of those developers of LVL, Litvak acids, which actually could also come into play, helping for precast concrete industry to minimize, to decrease carbon footprint of the building, to replace at least a part of the building structure with those elements. New horizons for offsite are very much related with productization. Almost everybody, I don't know the person who doesn't know what kind of car he or she drives. Yes, and quite usually people think that sort of some part of personality is somehow represented to the brand of the car that someone drives, right? So the idea is to make buildings, to make apartments, also of that kind. And company from with the Austrian and German origin, who took the name of famous founder of classical Bauhaus, Walter Gropius, so this company Gropius, who intends to create, to be sort of Tesla of the construction industry. They use hybrid structure, and they supply for the market turnkey solution to the with so many features already included from the one hand supplied centrally that you know, we really can, living in such apartment, you can proudly say, I know the name of the company, I know this is the brand I'm living in, and not only I know the brand I'm driving, this is the brand I'm living in. And there are many of those companies who could, to a certain extent, reach or seek for this. But what is important is a limitation of the resources. And if to calculate the resources, the forest resources available for the wood for the timber construction, we evaluate various scenarios, but the maximizing resources available is not good enough. We see different approaches how wood is processed. We see sawn timber, we see peeled timber, we see various engineered timber products out of strands. And if to evaluate the efficiency, we do need to have to elaborate sort of multi-criteria system. And some of those important criteria that have to come into play is we need to explore resource efficiency. Would it be carbon storage into particular materials? Or would it be the best mechanical properties supplied in the most efficient way? To use as less as possible round loss to create as much as possible mechanical properties stored into the engineered wood products. We need to develop production and design automation, and a lot of approaches that were presented by precast concrete suppliers, company Infos in Lithuania, perfect examples that we see applied here. We need to develop standardization and to bring productization to the next level. Good example talking about standardization are those LVL-based structures for wind energy towers. Just last week, 105-meter high wind energy tower was finished in Sweden, which structure contains out of laminated mid lumber, and which brings efficiency of the construction of those wind energy towers to the higher level than it could be possible from the physics perspective with the steel, and even from the cost perspective, it is much better. Productization inspiration we could take out of this Gropius example, where you can see the consumer inhabitant of particular apartment supplied by Gropius will not only has automated solution for every apartment management, but also all those single apartments are united into a common management system. So someone explores new lands, and this is with a, let's say, this could be compared with the approach for new materials, new ideas, how to decarbonize, how to transform our construction industry. But someone has just take the ground, and someone just lives in a prefabricated timber house, like Albert Einstein, And actually, this house is still standing in Brandenburg, the federal land of Germany, near Berlin. But someone have to build that. A picture from Norwegian Luna factory who supplied main building structure for the highest timber skyscraper in the world. So let's design and let's build those buildings for future Einsteins. Thank you. And yeah, what's regarding my company, BMG Group, I could say we have very strong competence and context into highly industrialized and large volume production and food processing, which came actually from our experience working 20 years together with the Scandinavian giant of furniture industry. With a vertically integrated approach, we stepped into the construction market and starting this unique combination of most resource efficient materials, LVL, particle board and I-joist, out of particle board and LVL. We aim to develop building systems. Would it be a hybrid timber to timber? Would it be a hybrid timber and concrete and steel solutions? So I'm thankful for opportunity to share the ideas and approach to the development of those technologies. And I would be very happy if some of you would find some topics relevant to bring to the further discussions. Would it be any kind of application to European research projects, or would it be ideas of some business development on this? So thank you very much.
Very much for that. So while we're setting up to be able to proceed to the next section, the panel discussion, today we've seen quite a range of presentations from steel, concrete to timber. And one thing that was actually mentioned right at the end is that sustainability doesn't come without some sort of a transformative approach. We need to stop doing things the way we used to do them and start doing things in a more innovative and have a strategy, an innovative strategy. So. And earlier on, we were discussing also the impact of sustainability and how it has in our different countries. We, from a very short survey, we've started looking at sustainability means different terms in different countries. For example, one thing that struck me most is that, for example, we did not mention masonry anywhere. So, for example, the country I am from, Malta, timber is not a material that is a traditional material. So, if I were to propose that timber were to be used in what we call it as a sustainable material, does it mean that I am being sustainable? So one has to see the context in which we are living and building and how we're going to progress and what sustainability really means. One of the things that transpired from the conversation this afternoon is that there are several legislative frameworks and several ideas of how sustainability should be implemented. My question, however, is, do civil engineers know how to transform these laws and legal regulations into the tangible, into the everyday in our design offices? Are we equipped to be able to do so? Are we skilled to be able to use BIM modeling, for example? We can't put that as a mandatory requirement without having the workforce to be able to supplement such a regulation. And then taking a step further is, are the contractors ready to become sustainable? I mean, I can say from my own country that unfortunately they are not yet ready. Because it not only takes the skill of a worker, but the equipment, it means everything. There is so much more to be discussed in this realm of sustainability. And I hope that this afternoon will be able to tackle some of these issues, to be able to bring down this very trendy word. Everyone wants to be sustainable, but nobody knows exactly how we're going to be doing it. At some point, if someone else tells me that I have construction is sustainable, I'm going to be feeling rather awkward. Because what is it? Most people tell me, oh, you just put double glazed windows, we use insulation on the facade, we put some PV panels on the roof or some wind turbines somewhere, and we're happy with them. I think it's much more than that. As we have seen, the first part of the construction process is the one that has the most carbon footprint, the most embodied carbon. But what are we doing as engineers? We talk about lean design, and we have a highlight of a flowchart, which is very good. But do all engineers know how to do that? And what I mean, that is not the large establishments that have the capacity for a lot of training, but also the smaller companies, the medium and the small entrepreneurs, or the small contractors, for example. I think in all of our countries, there's a mixture of contractors and what they're able to do. Some are able to do very large buildings, and probably some of this work is already being implemented in their structure, in their framework. Some others, maybe smaller gangs of workmen would need to be grossly upskilled. So there is going to be, there's the need for a transformation, but we've been talking about transformation for a long time. When is this going to happen? So I'm leaving these questions a little up in the air. Maybe some have already been answered in some of your countries, and it hasn't in others, and it would be a good platform to share some of these ideas and to learn from each other in such a platform and a forum today. And I can see that backstage, the work has been put together. Roberta, would you like to take over from here?
Yeah, thank you, Jeanette. So I'm very happy about your presentations. So it's like a challenge, like a good words on sustainability, like we can be proud of these young engineers. So I invite all speakers, starting from Paulus, continuing with Paulus again, and Thomas, to our panel discussion. And I invite Minister Danish Chergelis to panel discussion. If we will have Daiva back again, Daiva will take from you. We also have very respected guests. I don't remember I saw so many presidents together in one room. So I would go a little bit around a table. It's my honor, President of Association of Designers, suppose in Lithuania, Arturas Abramovich. It's a great honor to have you here. Also, President of Kaunas Association of Civil Engineers, Antas Laikys, our former President of Lithuanian Association of Engineers. So your name? Okay, Vincentas Laikys. Also the President of Engineers of Land.
Okay, I will say myself, okay. I am president of land management and hydrotechnical engineers.
Bilimatas Lačikinas, it's a great honor to have you here. And also we have a president of contractors of Lithuania, Darius Gedvilas, and I would like to invite you to the panel place. If you allow, it's a great honor. So, we have great team together. Would we sit or would we stand? Shall we? So, I think that we had enough about sustainability, and we are coming from a different sides of construction. So I promised you a question. What do you think about your colleagues? About your colleagues' presentations? Where do we start from? First of all, I would like to invite one more panelist, which is Sor Andreas. I feel like home with you, like a president. So we go to the panel discussion. Suppose it will be a very important subject about engineers training. So, what do you think about your colleagues? They are doing what they're doing enough on sustainability, not enough. You are proud of them, or you wish they would be better? Shortly.
Actually, I tried to answer this question already before it was raised during my presentation. I can only repeat that those are really important lessons from precast concrete industry, how to standardize the solution, how to manage the data. It's a really promising development with the demountability projects from steel industries. And I would invite to try to find more hybrid solutions, because even timber is not enough. Even between different engineered timber and timber materials are certain differences. So I truly believe in the power of synergy and power of cooperation. So what I like a lot in those presentations are good lessons that could lead to this cooperation. But I would like to inspire more think, talk, and do towards this. Thank you.
Good. Well, thank you. Now you give to the next one.
Very, very well said, Boris. I just can add that actually this we also believe in hybrid as a company. Only my presentation was a lot about this demounting and reassembling, but in general, steel, concrete, and wood, and wood for everybody. Also, we understand that this is very kind of a bio material, and from you also to hear that you are seeing the future in a hybrid. Probably we should be happy with Thomas as well, because definitely this will enable to make a better structure. And definitely from Thomas' presentation, I was really impressed how much this kind of heavy duty precast company is data driven, and how much data means for them nowadays. It's not only gravel, cement, and rebar. A lot of data is behind every action what they do.
Actually, I think that both presenters' presentation makes sense, and I think it's a right approach that we should move on the different directions. Yeah, we should move with concrete to make them more sustainable. We should search for hybrid solutions, of course, about usability as well. We should work on that. And also wood is a great material. And yes, it's nice to see that our Lithuanian market is doing quite good.
I'm asking myself, what can I say here as a regulator? Probably, I'm really happy to see the examples coming from our industry, from our community, and that's a really best practice examples how to behave and be competitive in the international market. And that's what we are striving at in the Ministry of Environment to make the conditions for our business better. And one probably key aspect here, what I've already mentioned in my presentation, allowing designers to be free in the solution of their, in the design solutions. Probably it doesn't apply 100% in structural design, but functional design and any other aspects of design, they have to be free to choose their solutions. That's why we're working on building code, which will be performance-based. And this is, to my mind, really, really important aspect here. What else? Probably, I think we have a lot of advantage already here in Lithuania, based on the examples that have been presented, and that's really, really good. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So first, let's pass you the best wishes from Lithuanian Contractor Society. Thank you for invitation in this meeting, and I saw a very interesting presentation, and this all representatives presentation made, but I think is good material to repeat this presentation in Contractor Society, because very interesting material, very interesting presentations, and you present very good examples from practice examples, and I invite you in Lithuanian Construction Association meeting, and maybe you repeat this presentation because it's very interesting for me. And when we discussing about sustainability, I think I fully agree with Thomas, because Thomas more discussed about more present BIM methodology, and I am fan of this BIM methodology. And I think that BIM is main key which help us solve all problems, all goals in sustainability questions. And when we discussing about life cycle, when we discussing about assets of materials, sustainability, properties of materials, what changes in life cycle in different stages, I think is been good key to which help us to realize different solution in sustainability way. I think that this conference is the first step in this way in the location, because we have not big society. Construction labor market is about 100,000 people, and today in my association is biggest attention in education. We thinking about BIM knowledges, we thinking about sustainability knowledges, and I think that we need to educate engineers, workers, and more invest in education.
I don't quite agree with your aspect that BIM is the solution bringer for sustainability. As we already discussed in our meeting before the start of the forum, I think sustainability is more than just a slice of the cake. Yeah, I agree with you. Sustainability, we have to think about the whole system and not only of the slices. So all the presentations brought us a glimpse, which gives us a tool to solve the problems of sustainability, but we must not forget the users as well. Yeah? So I think the performance-based regulations, as you mentioned, is the right way. We need to fulfill the wishes of the users, finally. No, we as engineers, we can create any solution, but if the users don't want it, it will not work. Yeah? And we will get opponents against that. So I think the most important thing for engineers nowadays is a broad view on the problem, just also a look across the own borders and to solve the problem and to use tools you have. BIM is one of them for the solution. That's my point of view.
If I may perhaps pick on this point, and we saw that in Lithuania you have a very large, an ambitious program over the next few years and what you'd like to achieve. My question would therefore be, I mean, we're preaching to the converted here because we are here because we're interested in the subject and we are dedicating time to it. But how are you going to manage the contractors and engineers and the construction industry in general to make sure that these targets are reached?
Thank you. That's an excellent question, and we ask that question ourselves every time we have a proposal to change something. Our goal and the mission here is to deal with lots of different interests, lots of different ideas, and to make a decision on that. And one of the decision aspects is to look forward and answer ourselves whether we will be able to fulfill any new requirement that we are bringing on the table. But I must say that the requirements, for example, regarding BIM mandate or the requirement to have organic materials when we have public clients for design and construction came from the bottom. Just from the industry, from the clients, from the users, and that was the driver, as well as the political agenda dictated that. We clearly understand that we cannot change everything in one big leap, and the decision of the government was based on a few steps approach. So basically, we take an incremental approach, starting from the big projects, from the certain intended uses of the buildings. And it basically means that only a part of the supply chain, which we are pretty sure it is able already to provide. They will provide for that little slice, but growing with the number of projects, the experience will be gained in the market, and it will grow. It eventually will be a business as usual. So basically, it's a stepped approach, and then we are using this method.
Thank you. In fact, I think one of the comments that we had earlier on was that business as usual costs less, and therefore, what are the incentives of being sustainable? And I wonder, from what we have discussed now, how will the construction industry react to these new implementations?
My neighbor accepts that Lithuanian Construction Association, everything push ministerium that we need that very fast to implement BIM, that BIM will be mandatory in Lithuania. 5 years ago, I promoted this methodology, and I proposed ministerium that BIM requirements will be mandatory in Lithuanian market, in public procurement. And today, we have members of Lithuanian Construction Association, which every day use BIM methodology. And I believe in leaders of construction industry, and I thinking that when we creating construction law and requirements, we need looking forward, we need looking in leaders. And my opinion is that when we will start use the requirement in public procurement, we more fast implement BIM, we more fast start using sustainability requirements for buildings. And today, I think that the Lithuanian Construction Association 2 years ago established the work group with public institution, public procurement institution, and we today creating criteria catalog, and we thinking that the public procurement organization have possibility to select and take some options, criteria when want to realize public procurement for one or second building projects. And I think that we more faster must invest in knowledge, more faster we must start use innovation, technology, and because Lithuania is a small country, and when we want and when we need to feel comfortable in construction market in Europe, we must more invest in innovation. And my opinion, BIM, sustainability, and other trends is today very important for us, for construction industry in Lithuania.
And I was wondering, Thomas, given that your projects are also in other countries in Europe, in Finland and Sweden, how do you know what you're talking about now? Is there an implication on the work that you've been doing in other projects in other countries? Are there different laws? Is BIM mandatory in other countries or in your experience? I mean, how do you navigate through that?
Yes, in other countries, BIMs like the Scandinavian market, so we see that their BIM is mandatory, and if we wanna be in that market, we cannot go without BIM. We should use it. What's the next part of the question was?
Well, I did not appreciate that in Scandinavian countries, BIM was mandatory already. So my question was, now that this is going to be introduced in Lithuania as well, the transition is going to be fairly easy for your company. But what do you think will be the effect on other companies that are still upskilling to BIM?
Actually, I think that almost all engineering companies in Lithuania already use it, and for them there will be no problem to start it off. Only the one thing they should fulfill requirements, which we will have. And the software itself, everyone is using already.
Can I continue a bit with a question to Thomas? Do you feel difference between requirements, between tendencies and challenges in countries talking about sustainability? Is it different? Is it different habits, different consumers, different builders? Who wants to ask you something? It's different or not? All the same?
If we are talking about Scandinavian market, mostly we are working in Sweden. So to be there, we should have EPD declarations for our products. And I think it's for 7 years. I think in Lithuania, we don't have such requirements to have EPD declarations for products. So I think this is the difference.
Okay. Thank you. I remind to everyone that you're also allowed to ask questions. You shall raise hand and to address question to someone or without hand addressing. And even for the best question or two best questions, you can win a prize.
Does the question, the prize, apply to me as well?
Yes, yes.
So I have a question for Paul, please. I was intrigued by your design for deconstruction that you've mentioned, because basically that is what it is, right? The design with mind of deconstructing. And there was a very interesting comparison between your traditional building and the demountable structure. But I was wondering whether in your calculation for your footprint and the carbon emissions, etc., were all of the machines and all of the craneage and all of that included in the calculation for the dismantling?
The calculation definitely was made up a little bit to look better as everybody is doing.
Thank you for being honest about it.
But when you want to promote something, you have to show a little bit better numbers. Yes,
Yes, poetic lighting.
the marketing works as well. But the idea of the project was to prove that the connections and the joints, which I was saying, but I will repeat, just the connections and the joints are quite critical for the structural elements when they have to work and do their job in the structure of the building. So we were wanting to show that it's really possible and that it's possible in a relatively normal way. Of course, it takes a lot of manpower. You need a different kind of a machinery. You need different kind of skills for the workers, and that is of course an issue. But yeah, but for calculation of the CO2s and the cost forever, we can argue, and I think never-ending story. It's the same. If I can elaborate a bit more on the EPD. Our company is also involved a lot, and we are having EPDs for our products, and we see the EPDs from the other competitor products, let's say. And this area in the European Union, we believe, should be much more regulated, actually. And we wonder why it is not, because EPD looks like an important document, but when there is no clear kind of a rules and responsibility for what's written in the EPD, then there's a big question whether the regulators can consider EPD as a really valid document.
It's a really good point, and I didn't mention that in my presentation when I was explaining the revision or recast of the CPR, but it's already there. I mean, it's coming, and it's coming probably not directly saying that you have to use EPD, but you have to declare certain properties which are related to the EPD and the standard we're talking about. So it's coming, and I'm pretty sure it will be in 1 year or 2 years' time.
So who checks the declarations?
Well,
Because you can declare anything you want, you know? If there is no regulation, you can declare just what you think will help you. So there must be a regulation on that topic. And it must be clear.
yeah,
You know, it shouldn't be a greenwashing. So we have to avoid that.
So we have one question.
Two actually. I would guess better. I was very much intrigued by the green precast concrete and the sustainability and the use of that presentation. Very nice presentation. Now regarding the connections, and as we say, as we know, we have always problems with the durability and the fatigue of these connections, and various other problems. How do you try to reuse them? How you are going to reuse them? We have all this problem with the connection, and especially we have dynamic forces, and especially we have earthquakes.
This is different topic.
I come from an earthquake-prone country, that is why.
Yeah. So we are from Scandinavia, and most of the precast structures and our connections for the precast structures, to be more precise, they are designed for the
Simple connection.
Yeah, for a normal connection. Sure, there are also only a couple solutions which are used for the seismic regions as well. And there, I mean, maybe this is not very good in the engineering community, say, but for the seismic solutions, there is more steel used in a way.
It's well known, it's not.
So that's how we're solving that. But the durability or these kind of questions, they are solved with the steel.
Okay, second one, please.
Yeah, the second one is it's about the earthquake and the use of precast concrete structure. If you have some knowledge of how we can use them in earthquake countries.
We have actually the white papers also in our let's say library or document portfolio that how to use the precast structures in the earthquake areas.
So we have made special
Column connections, column to beam connection, and column to column to foundation.
Thank you. All. Sorry.
Thank you. If I may, it's also to you. We are talking about sustainability. Means that we develop our generation, develop our environment, not to reduce usage of next generations. You have your structure, its columns, its slabs, which somehow doesn't respond to your needs today. So you disassemble this and put the same structure in another place. Why?
Not like that. The idea about this disassembly and reassembly is that in the new world of engineering, this will be like this: that when we are building a building, each column and each beam and each slab has a certain amount of data in BIM, most likely, and it is like a passport of the structure, like a DNA of the structure. Basically, when you are disassembling the buildings, you should store those structures, and other engineers who are designing other buildings, they should have a possibility to choose not to design a new structure, but to choose from the existing structure in some of the locations. And basically, this would be a huge amount of the structures. Some would be standing in the existing buildings, some would be in the storage location. And then when you build something new, first you have to select from the storage, from the material database, and use it in your new building.
Would be like creating a library of materials.
So first times like eBay is going to be eBay client that show us. Okay, we have one more question.
Thank you, Robertas. Paul Collin, representing the UK Institution of Civil Engineers. First of all, an observation and then a question. The observation is I'm going to pay a compliment to the government, the ministry, for being progressive in terms of setting the agenda on policy and regulation and performance-based design. I think that's very progressive. And also in procurement, because ultimately we're all in business, and the procurement philosophy of the government and the public sector is hugely important in motivating businesses to invest and take positions and look to the future, etc. So if you get the policy right and you get the procurement right and you have the technology, then the next element that's important is the people, the training, the skills. So my question to the people on the panel is, what's your observation of the speed at which we're creating, developing the skills to be able to respond to these challenges? If there was one thing you could do to improve the skills that are coming out of the education sector and through the industry, what would it be?
I'm going through all. Okay, start again from Polish.
Thank you. I would like to refer to the ambition of our government to increase the so-called green economy, green technology know-how level. And to refer to this, I strongly believe that the redistribution of the priorities is also important. We do have not enough time to wait until new generation will be raised. We need also to focus towards relearning, and this is one of the priorities I would see. And second priority, instead of learning in our own playground here, to learn as much as possible from the common let's start with the European playground, and actually ECCE might be one of those facilitators, let's say. So, yeah. So I'm bringing that all not only to the government, it's also back to the organization. Thank you. I think skills gap definitely is an obstacle for the going towards the more sustainable construction, and even to be practical. I'm very much also a fan of wood structures and a hybrid structure, but our education system is not ready to, how to say, educate the engineers who are able to design those structures. There are no people who are able to install them properly with the newest technology. And I will use the opportunity to give a question to all of you, because you are from engineers associations all over Europe. I don't understand why the engineers from Austria is not able to design a building in Lithuania, and why engineer from Lithuania is not able to design a building in UK. Every country has some kind of protection, some kind of a system, but the physics is the same. And the Eurocode maybe is the same. Is the same, but then there is something else which makes it not the same. So these questions would help to solve the skills gaps, because we would be able to use the engineering power from other countries. At the same time, we can share our engineering skills to other countries.
I would like to answer about the skills of engineers. And from our experience, what can I say that in the future we will be dealing with a huge amount of data, and it's very important to have skills to analyze, to be able analyze the data, to make decisions based on the data. And I think this is one of the most important skills.
Totally agree with ideas which just have been said, and from my perspective, I think we always have a couple of scenarios here to kind of create a huge, big program for educating the whole sector. I mean, just to drive to the change that we need. But probably UK is one of the countries that made that with regard to BIM. You had your mandate, your huge program, but we as a small country, and that's important. I don't totally agree with Boris. We do not have time to wait. That's why we have to choose some other ways how to act, and we also cannot leave that totally up to the market to decide. But we then use the decision to use the public money as a driver. And those projects which are in the pipeline, there are not so many of them still, but they will be kind of pilots for the supply chain to learn. There will be a support to that in terms of BIM and sustainability. We have the new agency working with our sector, construction sector development agency, and they're building their capacities to be a one-stop shop and consultancy competence center who would provide the knowledge which is needed, and to be a facilitator for the sector as well. So that's our input of as a linguistic here.
I need to say that 6 years ago, Lithuanian Construction Association started to use the competence and builders ID card register system, special IT system. And this register implement many different possibilities, and the main possibilities we register competences of all workers in construction sector. Example, we have society engineers, and we take education, take skills, and different competences we write in this register. And when engineer have builder's engineer card, you have possibility to check what kind of competences this engineer have. And this all information also is about workers, about the engineers, about different specialists in construction industry. And we propose that this information is possible used in public procurement. For example, when you have requirements and if BIM is needed in this project, you ask and write a requirement that all public procurement participants must declare information about the skills and competences of specialists. We today working with this register and thinking that the builder's card, that competency register will start used more and more companies which want to realize different.
I was wondering, Andreas, whether you'd like to talk about the mutual recognition.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, it might be a way to improve mobility, which is needed, definitely. Yeah, but on the other hand, we see, especially in our organization, that the level of engineering education is different all over Europe. So the problem is to find engineers who have the same level, for instance, in your country. So we must find, for creating such a database, we must find a level on which we agree. Otherwise it will not work, definitely not work. And another thing I would like to answer to your, or agree on your comment on education. We don't have the time to educate a new generation. This takes at least 3 to 4 years. So this will not work. And we already said, okay, engineers will have to do lifelong learning. But the basis for lifelong learning is a broad basic knowledge. The basic of engineering thinking you have to have. Then you are able to learn quickly new things to adapt. And I only can appeal to the representatives of the several universities we have here at the moment in our round. Please don't reduce the basics in engineering studies. It will not help us. Perhaps short term you get more students, but long term you don't get the skilled personnel the industry needs, we need, and the society needs.
Short remark.
From my observation during my work, 5 years as business development manager on one of structural design companies specialized in complicated timber structures. I would like to say one very important thing in this relation. I think that it is not only engineering knowledge itself, it is also ability to work on an international team. It is very rare when one engineer alone designs a building. Most usually those are teams, and ability to work in an international team could be increasing those abilities, those skills, might be one of the keys to faster knowledge transfer between different European countries. Thank you.
My name is Klaus Gürel, and I'm representing the European Council of Engineers Chambers. I'm one of the presidents here. My answer to your question to the audience about the Lithuanian and the Austrian engineer who can design here and there, I give you an answer I got in 2016 from a Spanish colleague We said an Austrian civil engineer cannot design a harbor because we have no sea. And now we have 2023, and I can promise you that the Lithuanian civil engineer can design a building in Austria and vice versa. It's simply not economically successful because to study the Lithuanian construction law or building law and the Austrian, we have nine federal countries, Germany has 16, that's economically makes no sense. But the skills and competences are there. And we are working now on a common training framework for civil engineers in Europe that we have automatically mutual recognition to the education. And that will, well, we have now 2023. It's 8 years, no, 7 years since 2016. So we have made large steps toward the mutual recognition. There's no doubt about that, that the Lithuanian, the Austrian civil engineer can do that. Needs trust, and we have it.
Thank you, Vlad. I think Latonis has a question.
I will change subject now. I have, yes, sorry for not introducing myself before. My name is Vlad Anastilianou. I'm a Vice President-elect from Cyprus. I want also to congratulate the ministry for being so progressive and going towards the being and all this stuff. But I want to ask two questions. One is about the mandatory application of being public sector, as we saw in your very nice presentation. Is this for all buildings, for both design and construction from what we saw, but is it for all construction? Small, big, whatever type, because in other countries there is a limit, let's say for some 2 million and above or some. This is the first one, and then I will do the second one.
Okay, thank you for the question. As Paul has mentioned, the slide was a bit of marketing, as well. But I mean, we have a governmental resolution, and which is quite strict. To answer your question, yes, we have 3 categories of buildings, so-called special buildings, non-special buildings, and simple buildings. So basically that applies to those 2 upper categories, special buildings and non-special buildings. And it applies for design, construction, and reconstruction of those buildings. So that's the area of application, and the amount of the value of the project at the moment is 10 million euros for infrastructure and 5 million euros for buildings.
So a small remark on that, it's good to furnish the industry with the right tools. So you have to give grants or to subsidize for the designers to buy the correct softwares for the contractors to get the correct technology for that. You will find the way. On my second question now, we saw in your presentation about the energy performance classes and certification and the Directive 2010-31 of the EU about sustainability. It's good we are ECCE here. So as ECCE, we have launched the 3S approach, safe, sound, and sustainable. So don't only think of the sustainability, think of the safety. And did you do any movements towards that? Do you plan something as a ministry for that thing?
Just to answer the question, if I will not kind of answer directly, just say that. And if I got to answer question right, whether we are working on sustainability specifically, I mean, the slide that I had was on the approach as well to use the public money on that. And we have so-called green public procurement criteria, which they are harmonized more or less, at least on the level of directive. And in one of the orders of the Minister of Environment, we have a requirement which will be enforced from January 1st, 2025, that every public client having a decision to design and build a building, he has to select a sustainability system or scheme, which he will use in order to measure the sustainability of his building. We do not require for him any special scheme. He's free to choose. Bring any product which is on the market, but he will be obliged to do that.
I was wondering whether I can make a general question to the participants in this forum today. We've talked a lot about Lithuania because they're the hosts, but also we have had some interesting presentations. But I wonder what the effect of this would be in your own countries. For example, how would your chambers take to the fact that BIM would be mandatory, for example? I wonder whether anyone would like to talk about this.
For a price.
Huh?
Gift.
I think you should give it to the best answer.
Yes,
the
yes,
best question.
great one.
Klaus.
Again, we're talking about sustainability, and we're talking about is BIM or without BIM. That's not the question, I think. We need in Europe, as a first step, a common sense calculation in the public tenders, in public procurement, how to calculate the sustainability, the life cycle costs of a project. Because if it's in a public procurement procedure, you get some bids, and how can you compare these bids to which one has the lowest life cycle costs? So there are so many definitions about sustainability that we can work with that. So we need for the next public procurement directive, it will not come 2024, we have learned how to proceed with that. Otherwise, it's not, we cannot do that. We need that, and we have to work together to find this common sense how to calculate. As an example, there was a webinar initiated from the Commission on the new European bowels and the Green Deal. And there was an architect, and he said, I calculate life cycle costs when the building is finished, and then starts the life cycle for the use. Yeah, but so we have to sit down and calculate and find this formula how to calculate that. It is done in the same way through Europe, and then we can find out if timber or that or that. Congratulations to you that every one of you is working on sustainability and find out the solution. But we cannot compare the solution without a rule.
Give a lot of examples.
So I think in addition to Klaus's answer, I think it's also important to have a uniform definition. What does BIM mean? What is BIM? Everybody talks about BIM, but does it comprise the use of the building till the end of the life? I think yes. So if you don't have it, it's only part of the BIM. So I think the same thing with sustainability. We have to find, and yeah, we have to fix on common accepted definitions. Then you can compare. Otherwise, it's only part of it.
mentioned that we have finished 1 month ago BIM-LT project, and that's an enabler. In our case, in Lithuania, we'll have the tools to measure and to say what is BIM and what is not BIM. We have set our own national rules and rules of the game for the whole sector. We're working on converting them to the standards and the legislation, but we'll have that. But it's only Lithuania. Everyone is welcome to have these results of the project. It has been funded by European funds, but nevertheless, we will have the enablers. Coming back to the question of sustainability and how to do that, observing what is going on in the commission and what tools that they are preparing, we all probably know the system of levels, which is already there. It has been tested, and it's universal, harmonized tool for the whole European Union. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure from my experience that probably one day there will be some kind of law, probably public procurement directive, probably. Just an observation.
So I have one question to the Vice Minister. Today, at least I had a very good words towards the Minister from the auditorium. So it was like a compliment. So please tell us what challenges do you facing every day towards teaching, towards developing skills, developing qualifications, developing criteria for sustainability, for public procurements. I suppose you have a lot of challenges. Could you share what the most important towards sustainability?
First of all, I would like to react to your question. If we start from that, I then would want to make kind of joke that maybe it's very difficult to understand for engineers, but I'm an architect, so I can talk in another way. And I wanted to say that sustainability for me is not the result, it's the direction. And I think that it's not only for me, it's the direction. And even if we do not feel the very exact borders of the path, we should go this path in any case, and looking for different solutions, even if we do not find them very clearly exactly. And we can discuss, we can search for them, we can go to this direction. And I think this is the right direction. And when we go in our ministry on this path, of course, we need the same questions. What is that? How we can count, how we can compare, but on the other hand, we need questions about the financial part. Maybe this direction is too expensive for us. Maybe we just make some very expensive requirements. So maybe we want to go by the lowest price, but we went by the lowest price. We have this experience, and we are not very satisfied with that. So to change this approach from the price to the quality, I think is also one of our challenges, if I could say so.
Yes, money always coming, always question coming about the money. Can we afford that at any moment? Okay, so please.
Thank you. Back to Alan, presenting the civil engineering college from Portugal. First and most, congratulations for members of the panel and congratulations for the presentation. I have a general question which is to the panel, which is also kind of a provocation. We understand that sustainability is a very complex equation, as has been here nicely highlighted by the previous interventions. We know that the sustainability of a product or a building or any other constructed facility is influenced by many parameters. One of them is the service life. And the provocation in a manner of a question is that, are you doing our job well? Should we keep continue designing our products for the time frame that you are doing our design, or should we be more exigent, demanding longer satisfied. Thank you.
Who's bringing that?
Sorry for the question.
Sorry, seems.
Yeah, so maybe was shown a little bit in my presentation, provocating back, yeah, that concrete structures can serve eternally. They are well maintained and well preserved. This is the answer.
May I add to this answer? I think it's not only on concrete structures, any structure designed according to the Eurocode, especially Eurocode 0, has a certain lifetime. Yeah? Normally it's for buildings 50 years, infrastructure 100 to 200 years. So railways often demand at least 150 years. So probably you will not design your product lasting longer than 50 years if you use it for a building. To make more would be waste of money. So the thing is, do we think enhancing the lifespan out? But it's a clearly regulated in the Eurocode 0 that you have to maintain a building, an infrastructure. For infrastructure, it's now mostly common. For buildings, I don't know. So we have a code in Austria for that, but nearly nobody knows. I must confess. Yeah.
I will try to challenge a bit. Yeah, if you design according to Eurocode, you like have a guarantee that it will be safe a certain period. But I can give an example about cars. If you buy a new car, you can have a guarantee for 5 or 7 years, maybe for 10 years. But it's not prohibited like to use this car longer. It comes, I believe it will come to engineering and structural business also, some certain time.
I can have one example from my presentation. Serial prefabricated renovation of all precast concrete buildings. We do have a lot of them across Europe, especially in Scandinavia, but also in Eastern Europe. What happened? When people built them to the current situation, they met good standards. They were much better, and people who moved from really bad conditions in some countryside villages to the cities, they usually got better conditions in those precast concrete buildings, even in the Soviet time Bauhaus era buildings. But with the time, our energy consumption habits and energy prices has changed. Climate has changed. Requirements towards the comfort within the building has changed, which means that we don't have to see it only to the problem of new buildings. Only to see into the building as one homogenic unity. We do have to think about extensions, about extending this lifetime of all buildings, and from this perspective, light, timber frame elements can help to prolong life cycle of old precast concrete building, for instance. Just to give an direction to think about. Thank you.
just small comment, we have to think about the context. We usually build them in the cities, in the urbanized areas, and these areas changes, they evolve. And sometimes economically, it's impossible for even Anabanchas to keep that building for a long time. And you have to take that into account, and probably we have to work not on the long-term buildings, probably, but to have possibilities to build another building instead of the old one, and to work on the methods, how to neutralize their emissions and so on. Basically, that's the one reality that we have today.
And perhaps as a final question to all the panel members, starting perhaps with the Vice Minister, I was wondering whether any policies that could be implemented at EU level, what would these be to be able to affect Lithuania positively?
I think that sometimes we are in the front, that make more than it comes from the Europe, and I think that we can find many solutions just using our creativity, our experience, our knowledge here in national level too. The direction is the same. The principles are agreed maybe in the European level, but methods of implementation we can really create. I think many things here and divide experiences and share experiences and communicate, collaborate with the country. So I wouldn't wait for something coming from European Union because we don't have the plan B. It's not so many times.
Janet, if you allow, I also answer the question. Okay. So I think
Prize for you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So it's quite important thing what Pearl is telling, that we want to reuse many parts of building, and we are able to do this now. Speaking about the directive, we have construction products regulation, which one in sense of the products used for the structures, for the construction of new buildings, forbid to use old beams, old columns. CE marking is needed, and never national regulation can obey that requirement. So I would like to ask European Union to remove as soon as possible such a obstacle, and to introduce some procedures, some expertise, some testing, some, I don't know what, I don't care what, something. It's really needed as soon as possible. The other one, we're speaking about criteria of sustainability for buildings or products. Wake up call for Sen, that we really need some simple requirements. It can be very different per product about sustainability. Is it sustainable or not? If we pay putting a threshold value or giving some points that product is okay to fit, but is more sustainable, some extra points. Thank you.
Last question. Who's got the prize? No. Who's got the prize? Yes, because the time is.
I'm running again.
Adela is hungry.
Help.
We must have a little time for rest and to change ourselves.
Different side of
We are on the way to it, Adela.
I'd like to thank you all for being here for this very fruitful discussion. I am sure that we will all take something away to think about, to act, and hopefully really make changes. I augur you very good luck with the implementation of your policies. And I don't know, Andreas, would you like to conclude our
I
meeting?
just want to say, just a few short words. As president of ECCE, I promise you that we will do everything to keep the education, the qualification of engineers high. And to be as flexible as it is needed. To follow the goals, follow the way to sustainability. I think what we should take out of this discussion, it shouldn't be one system or one thing against the other. It should be together. We have to work together to reach our goals. So it doesn't make sense to the concrete industry is against the wood industry. The concrete, and the both of them are against the steel. You know, we have to find the smart solution for the problem. So that's an appeal to the industry. Thank you.
So by way of thanking our guests, we have a little token for you.
Yeah, start again from bonus. Yeah. I was still the practical things. So I'm proud and very thankful to all panelists, all auditorium. I wonder, it was air fresher here from the left side from mine, that that side was much more active. So we'll have dinner, you can win prizes again, so be much more active. The right side. Dinner will be, restaurant will be, the same restaurant will be meeting us at 7. Now, you can have a free time, and for our guests, restaurant promised us, or we can